welcome back to my channel and the next episode of Sarah's Grand Adventures. Today I'm going to be telling you all about my mini introvert travel survival guide. If you don't know, I am an introvert. I'm an INFJ, an Enneagram 6, a sensitive soul, an HSP, all of the quiet, sensitive, introvertedness that you can get. And I have done quite a bit of traveling in my time, both by myself, with one other person, or with a group. And there are a few things that I always do to make sure that I am both having a great time and taking care of my own introverted needs. My energy comes from spending time with myself, being alone. I need that built into my days in order to be the best self that I can be, especially when I'm traveling with a group. I play the drums in a pipe band, and we often travel over to Scotland to compete in the World Pipe Band Championships. And so that means that there is a large number of people with me at all times. We like to do things together as a group, and so I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself as an introvert in very social situations. So my number one tip for you is to always have an escape route. So if you're traveling with a group, or even with one other person, or even by yourself, because we go to other countries, there's always going to be somebody around you. You need to make sure that you plan your day accordingly so that you have an escape route in case that you start to get overwhelmed and your energy dips. You don't want to be out and about in a random place and just be in a really cranky mood, and so then you're interacting with either the people that you're with or the people that are around you. Nobody wants that. You don't want that, because that's not your best self. So make sure you always have an escape route. So if you're going to a particular place, you're doing a particular activity, make sure you plan, a way that you can, if you need, to be able to get away from the group and take some quiet time. So any city that I'm going to, I always make sure to look for where I can find nature, or, have just like a way to leave the group if I need, like to step outside, or I have to take a phone call, something like that. Just a way to be able to get out of the group, take some deep breaths, and then, if I can, jump back into the activity. And if I can't, then I know exactly what I'm going to be doing to take care of myself. Like I said, nature is a great escape route. If you can, build that into your day, find somewhere you can just go sit in a park, or if you're in a city and it doesn't have anything really close by, then you can try to find something like a museum or a library, or even a coffee shop, even though there's always usually people at a coffee shop. But sometimes it's nice just to be able to sit down, have a quick coffee, plug your headphones in. No big deal. Tip number 2, always build quiet time into your day. So I like to be super prepared for any kind of travel experience, whether I'm traveling alone or with a group. And so I like to plan something in the middle of the day where I can just be by myself, be in a quiet space. Like I said in the last tip, libraries, museums, green spaces work. But sometimes if you're, depending on where you are, you can actually just go off by yourself and do like a small tour of the city. For instance, when I was in Stirling, the first time I traveled to Scotland in 2014, it was kind of a smaller place. It wasn't during peak tourist seasons, and Stirling's not an overly touristy place. It does have some really great architecture. So in the peak of summer, July, August, it does get a little busier. But when we went in June, it wasn't overly busy. And so something that I like to do is just go off and wander by myself. My band would have things to do. They like to go to the pub, they like to explore, but sometimes I would just wander off on my own. And I would go and, there was a time when I did like the castle tour by myself, but then I went behind the castle and explored kind of all the other things that, are not necessarily right at the castle where the peak tourist place is. But then one day I also just built in like a tour of what's called Old Town in Sterling, and you can just go and wander all these old buildings. Most of them I think are free. I don't think that I paid for anything, and so I was just able to do that by myself. But sometimes it helps, like if you're on a really social activity, like I said, I travel with my pipe band a lot and there's a lot of members. So sometimes in the afternoon, I just grab a book and give an hour to myself, either in my room or out in a green space, read my book and allow myself to really kind of bring myself back down and raise my energy up. So that's really important for me, is finding that quiet time during the day. Tip number 3, bring your escape item with you. So by escape item, that means any item that is going to pull you away from the hustle and bustle, the overwhelm, and the energy sucking activities. It's good to still do those. Like I said, even as an introvert, I love going and spending time with my band, doing activities. You know, like they're great people. It's just sometimes I need a moment to myself. So, you know, escape item can be a small book or headphones, or something else to kind of distract yourself. So you can, if you need a minute, you need to get away. Like my favorite is to bring a book. So I'll try to find, you know, a couple of minutes, a green space somewhere where I can just spend a few minutes reading. Or headphones is also a great idea, and you can, you know, download yourself a relaxing meditative playlist, or, you know, whatever music works for you. Some people love to calm down to heavy metal, whatever works. But make sure you have your escape item with you. So a lot of people make the mistake of not bringing, you know, if they're like, I'm going to a social activity, I'm going to have no time to read, so I'm going to leave my book at home. Try not to do that. Try to bring your escape item with you, even if you don't end up using it or you don't think you're going to need it. Sometimes even just having that comfort is great. Wherever I go, I pretty much bring a book, and I don't always read. I don't always have time to read, but sometimes it's just nice to have that book with me. Tip number 4, try to choose vacations where you don't have to always be social all the time. You know, some vacations, it's not going to be possible to do that. Sometimes when I'm with the band, then, you know, we have set activities, set timings, and that's not always avoidable. But sometimes I like to build vacations in where I know that I'm going to have plenty of time where I don't need to be socializing. And so sometimes those vacations are really nice to mix in, you know, for the introverts out there. It can be nice just to be able to relax and not have to have the expectation of being social all the time. A tropical vacation can be a nice one. It can be challenging if you're staying at an all-inclusive, because there's often a lot of people around all the time, but sometimes you can find really nice secluded spots, or you can just spend time on your own balcony if your room has that. And then, you know, sometimes when I'm traveling with a band, we like to extend our trip either at the beginning or at the end, and just have some time, like either to prepare ourselves going into it or to decompress afterwards, where we don't have all the expectations of socializing on our plates. Sometimes that's really nice just to have vacations like that where you can just relax and be by yourself. That's why solo vacations are really great, you know, and you don't even have to go far for that. What can be really nice is even just getting an Airbnb in your own town or somewhere nearby, and just giving yourself some quiet time. And tip number 5, be okay with exploring on your own. This can be challenging for some people. If you're anything like me, you might be a little bit of an anxious traveler. And some places are not going to, you know, allow for you to explore on your own or to be overly safe to explore on your own. But if you can, start getting used to doing things on your own when you're traveling. Like I said in the first tip, when the band went to Stirling, I really enjoyed wandering off on my own. We visited the castle as a group, then I wandered off after we were done, and I found other things to explore, or exploring Old Town by myself. It was really nice just to be able to walk around with my map and my travel guide, not have to talk to people, and just like get to be my own head at my own pace, and taking care of my own energy. And that was honestly one of my favorite memories from the whole trip, was exploring Old Town by myself, and just like getting to, when you explore with other people, typically like others will rush you to one place, or you'll skip something entirely because you run out of time. You tend to be on other people's agendas, but when you explore by yourself, you're fully on your agenda, and it can be really, really nice just to give yourself that time. So if you're an introvert like me, review these 5 tips, and you can even start creating your own tips, things that work for you. Make sure you know going into it that you're an introvert. You know where your energy comes from. It does not come from other people, like a lot of people in the world. Your energy comes from within yourself, and you need to make sure that you're taking care of your energy, because the last thing that you want to do is be grumpy on a travel trip, whether you're by yourself or you're with a group. I know I have gone off and explored by myself, been incredibly grumpy, and I ruined my own time. Or like with a group, even if you're traveling with one other person, like a spouse or a best friend, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, but keeping in mind that your energy comes from within, from spending time by yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited to have made this episode. I was most looking forward to this one. Traveling as an introvert can bring up challenges, but it can also be really fun. We pay attention to things that others don't. We don't have to rush as much. Just being really present in what's going on around you, but not necessarily having to be tuned in with the people, is just it's a nice way to travel. It can end up with you coming back from your trip just so relaxed and in tune with yourself and feeling fulfilled. And that's really what's important when you travel, is coming home and feeling fulfilled. You spend so much money traveling to different places that if you come home and you feel even a little bit disappointed, then it can kind of taint that trip. But if you come home fulfilled and relaxed, and having learned a little bit about yourself, then that, I think, is a successful travel. So as always, please like and subscribe to this video if you'd like to see more. My goal is to be doing these once a week. And please comment below if you have an idea for what else you'd like to see, any other travels that I'm going to do. I'm going to be sharing both, tips, but also stories. So watch out for next week's video, where I tell a story about one of my favorite travel experiences. So I look forward to chatting with you next week. Thanks so much.